I I looked up the author, and I can see what you're going through. I put it in quotes so we have first and last name, so like people talking about the work. Um, and while the catalog is full of reviews, there's only like 11 articles, and only one of them is scholarly and peer reviewed. So I've been digging and digging, and I think I have a strategy for you. But since we're not talking, you'll have to let me know if this is on track, or if you want me to go further. First one is I took your keywords from the email that you sent to me, and I was like, oh, well, there's tons of stuff on family stress and siblings, brothers, etc., etc. Um, but I went in to the book review, and it talked about, okay, so we established the 1950s, but then the person's on a juvenile work farm. I couldn't find any evidence of juvenile work farms even existing. Um, so instead of so when you're doing in in humanities or in communication or in any other area of research, when you're doing research on something novel that hasn't had a lot written about it, sometimes we have to look for corollaries or things related to it, and then use that to support the things that we actually want to say. Um, if that doesn't make sense, let me show you what I did. Here's the databases that I recommend. And there's a bunch of different keywords, but I encourage you to look for your own keywords too. Um, don't look up work farm. There's nothing there. I imagined it existed, but I'm just like, oh, if you Google it, all you get is Lincoln Highway, and it's really annoying. So these databases, MLA bibliography is great for humanities. PsycInfo is great for how families cope with the death of a father. It seems like happened in one of the books. Communication is going to have a lot to deal with what's already happening in these. And I'll come back to Scopus. So let me show you some of the strategies, using that as a strategy. I did, so this is in the communication database. I was just like, well, let's talk about the coping with death sort of a thing. If we're looking just in communication, I mean, you could do this search through all the databases, obviously, but I was just like, okay, what are related terms for family, siblings, brothers, sisters, relations, nuclear family? These are all synonyms. So it would go through all of the comm stuff, which is probably quite a bit. And it comes up with a pool of this. And then was like, okay, out of this pool, I want only stuff that has death in it. And then out of this pool, I only want stuff that has coping in it. And then you get a nice, tidy little 16. These don't talk about the novel or novels, but it is a perspective that could be used to support evidence of what maybe one of the characters in the novel is going through. By the way, you can click on academic journals. Look, this is going to end up with like none. I did this a lot. I was so frustrated with the search. Oh, rats. I timed out. But you can narrow down by date range too. I'll show you that. I won't try it because I think I've timed out in my search. But you can like choose the date range right here. Dig around in the abstract of each article and see what the gist of the article is. It might have nothing to do with what you're looking for, but it might have some tangential thing that you can use to support a point that you're making without mentioning the novels. This is where, so this is the library catalog. This is just the advanced search. Here you can see there's like one scholarly article, so I can see what you're going through. But from the library homepage, the catalog is just kind of like a mixed soup of academic and popular. Those are newspapers and reviews as well as scholarly articles. But I was looking for evidence of like a work camp, and I couldn't find anything. But delinquency, juvenile delinquent. Did I spell that right? I bet I didn't. Oh, my computer's frozen up. So you could add synonyms to that. Juvenile criminal, I don't know. But there's like, what are the synonyms for juvenile? Might be youth. And the era is very important because it's post-war, pretty much all over the world, but post-war United States was very complex. I don't want to put my opinion in there. But what you could do is you could go through, the comic book scare. I used to be into comic books. It's kind of like video games, where if there's a violent comic book, it must be making people commit crimes. But you could click on peer-reviewed journals, and you could do all these same searches. And even if it's in communication or if it's not in communication, it might tie in one element of evidence that you want to talk to. This is the humanities database. So I looked at death or dying. I didn't think of the word grieving. That might be another one too. And I tied it in specifically to family or brothers or siblings. So does this talk about, I'm just riffing off of what I've read already. And again, this one, you can come up to like recent times, but I've timed out. The last one that I want to show you, is Scopus, because it's got a complexity. I don't have a VPN right now, so the full text of the articles is not going to show up. So your results will look different than mine, but at least I can show you the citations and how it works. Scopus, if you find a good article, if you have your list of articles, you can put the title in quote marks and search for the article, and then you can see everything that they cited, but you can see everything that cited it. So for example, let's try that search. Death and dying. This one doesn't have an advanced search. You just have to add the fields. And then in this one, in the search results, you can also narrow down by date. But if you find something, look up the title in Scopus, and you can see a couple of things. And they're all arranged by date, so you can do it that way too. Scopus goes across all the disciplines, so there's humanities, communication, social sciences, business, STEM. Sorry, my computer's slow at home. So out of those 6,000, let's see what pops up first. Oh, disrupted family connections and loss, a collective case, COVID-19. I don't know if that's relevant to what you're looking for. But you don't have to pick something that is exactly about your book or the author or the era even. It's 2018, 2024. You could look for stuff that's like death in the 1950s, or grieving in the 1950s. And you can sort by number of times cited. This is where this database is different from the other ones. So if I find an article, or if I put in an article and I want to see who cited it, screening for prostate cancer. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff in here. And you can narrow it down to a discipline. But there's a lot on prostate cancer. At any rate, dig around with different keywords, and you could go into, here we go, let's just do social sciences. You might even use communication as a keyword in this one, if you weren't finding what you were looking for. There we go, attitudes. Oh, palliative care. That's when somebody's gone into hospice and they're passing away and they've decided to just run it out at home. So not that this is the best article, but as an example, if you type in an article that you've already found that you think is good, even if it's an older one, you can go into this database, and if it shows up in this database, not everything does, you can see the things that have cited it since it was published and get those newer things that might refer to it. So this is a second strategy. So these are all the articles that cited that one. So you can get in that way. Does that all make sense? Let me show you all my keywords at the very end. These are all the ones that I tried. Juvenile work farm, it's terrible, it doesn't work. But juvenile delinquency was really hot in the 1950s as a social topic. Let me know how it goes, and I hope this helps. Reach out.